PICTOR constellation lies in the southern skies, above and beyond. It's Latin for painter, but its real representation, the constellation itself, is the painter's easel. So with a blank canvas, today we're going to create a masterpiece with the PICTOR Group President, Sandy Hatfield Clubb. So Sandy, welcome to the show and thank you for your time. I know you're super busy.
Hi, Richie. Great to see you. Very thrilled to be here. So what a fun introduction.
You know, I make things up as I go along, but I'm sure you won't. The PICTOR, straight into it, Sandy, the PICTOR Group. Lots of questions to ask. I'm sure you can answer them before I ask them. PICTOR Group, what is it?
Great question. And I love the introduction that you gave, because the idea behind the name itself really is to have this blank canvas, open thinking. What our firm does is to help intercollegiate athletics programs and organizations rethink, recalibrate, and refocus their future. And so to really have an open mind about how to go into that space is just a beautiful setting for the future.
So initially, you have what to go into? Do you take a look at it? Do all your stuff? I think you know where I'm coming from. What's it look like when somebody says, I need your help?
Sure. Yeah. So our firm is a consulting firm. All of the senior leaders of our firm have been Division I athletic directors or commissioners. We work across all three divisions in intercollegiate athletics, as well as outside of intercollegiate athletics, as the rest of the world connects to NCAA level athletics. For example, USA Gymnastics, or where I met you, I was with at United Soccer Coaches. Sure. And I was working with on behalf of Division III Commissioners Association. So what our firm does is we go in and we help leaders solve problems. We help them to rethink and refocus, recalibrate their organization, which can be the scope of anything from a review of their program to strategic development of initiatives, a strategic planning process. We do a lot of executive leadership coaching. So it really centers around how leaders are leading their organizations and how to really help both them authentically lead, as well as their organizations really reach their greatest authentic, space in the college athletics world.
And this will cover all sports, right? A whole athletic department, right?
Yeah. Yes. This is all sports: football, basketball. Go on down the line. Soccer, of course. It involves. It could certainly focus on one sport, or it could focus in a number of areas.
So when you initiate contact, let's say let's have a look at that. Do you investigate where they're at currently, from top to bottom, from the athletic director or whoever that may be, right down to the personnel, the coaches?
So absolutely, it depends upon what the needs of the organization are. So if
Sure.
we're brought in to do a program review, in other words, an athletic director wants to take a comprehensive look at their department and say, how are we funded? Do we have the right offerings of sports? Are we in the right conference? Are we in the right division? We could look at the whole spectrum. We have processes that we have in place to take a thorough evaluation of an athletics program, what their support staff is, what their funding levels are relative to their conference, relative to their national division, and then help them make some strategic decisions about the future and how to improve their competitive performance, maybe their efficiency and effectiveness, and how they're achieving their goals. Quite often, the process of how this might work, for example, we do an executive onboarding process. So an athletic director gets a new position. Right. We go in and we help them transition in the first 90 days of their job. Quite often that helps us understand what the priorities are, the needs are of that organization. We may then do a program review of that same institution and then help them develop a strategic plan. So quite often, and one of the things that is so wonderful about our firm is we really try to do two things. One, we want to deliver extraordinary service. We
Yeah.
want to be indispensable to the people that we're serving, and we also want to have fun doing it. So those two things really help us continue to get rehired. Our percentage of rehire for our clients is 92, I think 92, 93%. That's incredible, right?
Wow.
So we get rehired consistently by the organizations that we serve.
I don't do adverts, as we English say, or commercials, but if anybody is listening to this, and we do have a lot of followers, get in touch with this is a pitch for you. Get in touch with Sandy at the PICTOR Group. If you're moving into a new position and you want to look at the past, check in with the present, and see what the vision or the future looks like with the PICTOR Group. So there's my pitch. That's a freebie, Sandy. I know the mechanics of the way you operate. I do know the personnel, the people that you work with in the PICTOR Group, and it's fantastic. Too many to mention. What makes you unique?
Richie, one of the things that we do is we really want to approach this from a very authentic space. I'll give you an example. When we do onboarding, we spend the first, we start with our clients in a 2-day retreat. And the first day is really about getting them centered in who they are and how they want to be in the world, right? What are my core values and how are we going to live them out as I enter into this new experience? And then the second day is really about what are the priorities of that institution or that organization and how do we get focused on that? So I share that to say this is really for us about wanting to improve, continue to make college athletics a better space. And right now is certainly an interesting time in college athletics with all the changes that are happening.
Right.
And it's really a transformative point. And so we want to help we share the people inside our organization share a true love of college sports. We're doing this together because we want to make sure that all those things that are great and valuable about the college athletic experience are the very best they can be. And so, as we did as leaders when we were in our practitioner role as leaders, we really saw our jobs as making the core of our job is to help the people around us be their very best.
Sure.
As an athletic director, if I helped our coaches be their very best, then they could help the student athletes be their very best, and then we all win, right? And so so it's really about how do we authentically ourselves authentic from an authentic space help our clients reach their greatest performance in their way that's going to best serve the world of college sports.
Unique. What's just hit me there, this is just a chat. What's hit me there is I call it it's a 3P method. It's you're passionate about what you do. You're very professional in your approach, and from what you said in terms of taking the people to one side, that's a personal touch as well. So that's what hit me with what you've just explained to me on that unique side of it. In your involvement, developing, rethinking, refocus, have you witnessed that filter down through the program, all the people within that program that have to deliver, coaches, admin, the whole shebang, sponsors, whoever that may, have you seen that filter down into the athletes themselves?
Yes. Oh, have had some great experiences. And as I mentioned earlier, we tend to get rehired somewhat regularly,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
fantastic. So I won't name the institution without their permission, but working with a phenomenal institution on the West Coast that our firm was originally hired to help them evaluate transitioning from one division to another division. We are then brought in to help do some leadership executive training and then some leadership retreat, run summer leadership retreats We brought in the predictive index, which is another part of one of the, I'm a certified analyst with the predictive index through an organization called the Humanlytics team.
Brilliant.
And so we brought in the predictive index. And so I'll give you an example,
please,
as quickly as I can, of how this whole thing is filtered down all the way to the student athlete experience. They had a coach that their team was, sharing concerns that the coach wasn't communicating with them well, and they were struggling. They were very frustrated. And they used the predictive index throughout their whole entire team, their coaching staff and their team. And the coach modeled, and this is the beauty of it, right? So the predictive index is a talent optimization tool that helps people understand themselves better and understand others better. And so it can help improve communication. So the coach did a beautiful job of modeling himself. He learned more about himself. He was able to model what, how he sees the world. And it was this huge aha for the student athletes, that when he coaches them hard in a particular way, and when we won, but that's not good enough, we got to do better. And when he had this kind of attitude of like, just getting after the detail constantly, when the student athletes saw that as his view of the world, and it's his, caring for them, the betterment for them, all of that, when they interpreted it that way, it completely changed the dynamic. And that same team went from competing very low in their conference to competing towards for a conference championship. Like, it can just be, was that quick of a turnaround in a really, with a really talented coach who wasn't being interpreted well by his student athletes. When he could open up, see himself as he was, communicate with the team, the team then communicate to him and create language around, coach, hang on, you're getting on me right now. I just was kind of like, give me an attaboy and then I'm ready for that, and just being able to create language around that space then allows the team to come together in a way built around trust so that they can perform at a higher level. And so there are many examples of when, we work with the senior leadership team. That's where the entire culture, ideally what we're wanting is that we have, these cultures of excellence with integrity, right? So when you work with the senior leadership and you help that team, the senior leadership team of the athletic department, come together in a cohesive way, then you find that trickle down throughout the whole department. And when you have coaches that really buy in and dive in and open up that type of communication with their teams, you can see, good performance go to great, great performance go to extraordinary, and then really fun things happen for everybody involved.
That, from top to bottom, from the ivory tower right down to the blood, sweat and tears on the court, on the pitch, call it what you will, must give you, it's priceless, great satisfaction to see that.
No doubt.
Not only evolve because of your input, your team's input, but that feedback coming to you. Does that give you that extra drive to go on to the next one and take that with you onto the next job, for the want of a better phrase? I apologize.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Richie. That's exactly what it is. It's why we got in sport originally as little kids, to have the fun and the passion and the interaction. And then as you get a little bit older and you start coaching, you start teaching, you start administrating, and then you have a greater responsibility for more people around you. You have to find ways to have impact, right? Because when you're coaching one-on-one, in my case, my background's in swimming. So if I'm working with an athlete and they have a good swim, I've got that direct connection, and it's really fun. And so then as you move up and change your role and you take on more leadership, you don't get that direct interaction. So in fact, I'll just tell you real honestly, when I was an athletic director, I had to go through this process about a year into my job. I asked myself, what am I doing? This is crazy. And I actually went on a retreat with two of my girlfriends. I just told them, listen, you got to go with me, help me sort out. I need a question to ask myself at the end of the day to realize if I've done anything of impact. Because it's just so much, you take on a lot of responsibility as leaders. And so we did. And I came out of that little mini 2-day retreat with my friends who can speak to me very honestly and help me sort through some of these things. And my question was, have I done everything in my power to help the people around me become their very best? If the answer was
Massive.
yes, yeah, because then it could look like, as an athletic director, that might look like meeting with a donor, talking to an angry parent,
Yeah.
working with a coach. It might be working with staff on campus.
Sure.
It could be a zillion different kinds of things that didn't look the same as when I had the one-on-one impact with student athletes, which is why I got into it from the beginning. And so, so as it did as I was first getting in, it does now as I move through and have an opportunity. And part of the reason why I love the consulting gig is because I do get to work with, a broader base of people. And, it's kind of fun. I work with leaders and I help them solve their problems. And then I go home and I pray for their headaches to be resolved, but I don't have headaches. I don't go home with headaches.
Always work in progress. And at some stage, we'll either find a little bit of we're going down some self-discovery like you did. So with the PICTOR Group, you're actually, pardon the pun, well, it's not a pun, it's deadly serious. You're either dealing with one star and you have the ability to deal with a whole constellation, right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love the way you're approaching this.
Well,
No, it's no doubt.
Sandy, I do listen.
You're awesome. And Richie,
Thank you.
I've been really lucky. Each of our kind of core leaders within our organization have found their sweet spots in terms of the types of things that they really excel at. And I've had the opportunity to work with large organizations. I've really enjoy a lot. I work with NCAA Championships Department and worked with NCAA women's basketball for a long time, and
Sure.
worked with the Division III Commissioners Association on the officiating project
Right.
now for about 3 years that you and I have discussed previously. And then USA Gymnastics. I'm in my second year working with USA
Brilliant.
Gymnastics. And this is the second NGB that I've had a chance to work with. So it's just fun for me to work with these larger national level organizations that, can spread quite widely in terms of the impact that they have.
I think if it's a statement, it's not a question. I think if you're making a footprint at that high end, those, like I mentioned, those ivory towers, that will have a trickle-on effect, right down to those individual collegiate departments.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to jump back to. I couldn't get. We met obviously in Kansas, and you were off to do your keynote speaker, and I said, right, yeah, I've got to come and listen in the 40-second quick chat we had. I thought, I've got to go there. They wouldn't let me in, but I did manage to stick my head in the door. And could you just go over what you set out to do in your delivery and what you got back from it, if you understand my meaning there? I thought it was brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Division III Commissioners Association and the NCAA Championships Department hired the PICTOR Group to do a massive study of 15 different sports plus men's and women's. So it's actually 25 different sports in the NCAA on officiating.
Right.
Officiating is a critical issue. Refereeing in soccer is really has some all-time critical points right now. In terms of the culture, in terms of the officials aging, and not young people coming in and staying in the avocation. So we did a study a few years back. We've created a strategic plan. We're implementing that strategic plan.
Sure.
The reason that I was at United Soccer Coaches Association convention is because they've agreed to be a pilot for us. And what we are doing is we're working on strategies to engage soccer coaches. And this is going to be a pilot to go across all 25 sports. And we're engaging soccer coaches to solve the problem. So one of the things we learned of the many things we learned through this massive study involved over 15,000 people across all of those sports.
Oof, right.
One of the things we learned is we have really systemic and cultural problems that we need to solve. This isn't just about recruiting and paying referees more. This is
Right.
much bigger issue than that. And so the key person to help with this is the head coach. So we surveyed head coaches, we surveyed officials, and they both agree the single most important thing to improving the culture of officiating is for officials and coaches to get to know each other a little bit better.
Yes.
And respect, honor, and appreciate the positions that they're both in, and then to find a space of communication that allows you both to do your job.
Yeah.
And to do your jobs well, because you don't have a sport without each other. That's
Right.
the reality of it.
Yeah.
And so we also know, both officials and coaches said, the person who's most impactful to the culture of officiating is the coach. The coach's reactions, the coach's behaviors are going to then trickle down to the way their student athletes work, the way the fans react, all of that. And so we're going to coaches, we're showing them data, we're asking, we're begging for them to get involved, to start to understand the issues, and to start to help solve the problem.
And we must have a trickle down effect from that, because you're dealing with, and rightly so, the head coach or any given coach within an organization to be that barrier to support what is happening there with the officials. Because as you said, without them, what are we going to do? So no, carry on.
No, I was going to say, and so to that point, just simply having some conversations about how to, so a coach, there are times where a coach needs to defend and support his or her players, right?
Sure.
And
right.
so what if saying to the official, where the student athletes can't hear, but they can see your head, is saying, listen, I'm defending my team right now. Do you understand what I'm doing? Okay, get out there and do your job. If I said that to an official versus blah, 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 some other, things about breaking them down, in other words, I've kind of defended my team. I've made my point to them. Listen, that call, I hope you make that call on the other end of the field. Whatever it is, there are ways you need to communicate, but there are ways to communicate and do all the things you need to do, but without having some thoughtful conversation about it. And I do want to share. You asked the question, what I take away from that meeting that we had? So at United Soccer Coaches, we had a panel. We had 2 coaches, 2 officials, and myself. I presented the data and what have you, and then we had them talk. And it was fantastic because there was a head Division III women's coach who'd been very successful, been in her role for a long time. She and I are standing in the back of the room, listening to the people presenting ahead of us, waiting to go up to our positions on stage.
Right.
And she leans over to me and she says, Sandy, I've been a coach for X number of years. She goes, I don't even know what they're talking about. She said, I don't understand the language that they're talking about. She said, I know what a red card is. I've had a red card. My players have had a red card. She said, but I actually don't understand the language that they're using right now. And I told her, I said, please say that when we get up on stage, because that's exactly, when, and I just left at the women's Final Four. I was at the coordinators meeting, the coordinators of officials meetings and what have you, a number of different officials meetings. And I sat there with that lens on and I was like, oh my gosh, officials speak a language and coaches speak a language, and it's not necessarily the same. And so she did make that comment during the presentation, which was fantastic, because again, that led to more conversation about, Richie, just the importance of us sitting down
Bingo.
and talking about these things.
I,
Yes.
I totally get that. Being from not around here, another continent, I get what that coach has said. The phrases we use, in the heat of the moment, call it what you will, the passion. We don't want to take that away from it, but we need to understand and address ourselves and conduct ourselves in the correct manner in the approach to defend your players, as you said, but at the same time, with the changes in rules, and I've known some coaches that go, "What, you're not offside from a goal kick?" Yeah, it changed about 18 months ago. So we need to make that aware. It's almost we need to role play. Would you say?
Yes.
In those
Yes.
conversations,
you nailed it.
I've put my hand up and gone, lino. Well, that's a floor surfacing in some light lithium. So, but that is, I'm an assistant referee. I said, yeah, you are. Yeah, yes. Different languages. And I think that is brilliant. The language of everybody, nice language. It's almost, there's a book there, isn't there?
No doubt, no doubt. And my brother actually is a high school soccer coach. He grew up playing soccer. He coached his daughter, and then he's gone on and he coaches high school in Maryland. And he came in to listen to that session. He knew I was coming in for that. And he actually is creating, I love this, because he just went, this is so important. And as a state champion coach,
right.
He is actually pulling together his conference along with officials from his area to sit down and have one of these dialogues. He's calling it the round table. And we're going to sit around round tables. I'm going to fly out, show the data and all that kind of stuff. And we're still don't have our date selected, but it'll be this July. And but this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
It has to happen at the grassroots level. People need to see, and here's the most important thing. We have to see the crisis in officiating as something that belongs to everybody in the game. Everybody in the game needs to do something about it. And so to sit down and start to have dialogue about what can we collectively do instead of they, them, turn it to us and we. How do we have a culture of success that that we create, the ability for everybody to be their best? I mean, that's what it comes back down to.
I think it should be, a statement. I think it should be game development, no matter what game it is, no matter what baseball, basketball, soccer, call it what you will. We should all take on board, officials, parents, coaches, players, game development over what we live with, player development. Don't. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, we should develop.
I'm stealing that one.
We should. We have a responsibility to not only develop those players from the 8 to 20, whatever age through the game. But if you see a 14-year-old official out there, doesn't matter what sport, we should help them as a coach and as the fans as well. Are they going to make mistakes? Oh yeah. But we don't want to drive them away because we are
human. We are all human. Yes. I love that. Game development. I'm stealing that, Richie.
You can have it. Brilliant. And I want a copy of the book with your brother, please. And if you want any English translations, I'm available.
We got your number.
Okay, brilliant. And on those translations, we are so bohemian. The United States, so many cultures. We need to know in that game atmosphere their delivery and right across. I want that book, by the way.
I'm on it.
I am the Knights Commission. This is my last one. I said too much. The Knights Commission. You are, what is it?
The Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics. That is a think tank of wonderful people who come together to really think about how can the world of college athletics be at its very best. They make key recommendations. They have some wonderful recommendations. I'd recommend go directly to their website, the Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics. and see what they're doing right now. They have a proposal out on something called the CARE model, connecting athletics revenue to education.
Right.
And it's making recommendations on how to get the finances, particularly of Division I athletics, under control, and how to do it without just throwing your hands up and saying, well, if the government doesn't come in and give us an antitrust exemption, we can't do anything. This is actually strategies on how to work today to create a more equitable environment, how to reach, how to create gender equity in revenue distribution, how to achieve racial equity, work towards racial equity. In fact, they're going to be coming out here in a couple of weeks with some new recommendations. There you go. That's the website. They made back in April of 2020 phenomenal recommendations, principles on name, image, and likeness, and had some of those principles gone into place in some legislation with the NCAA, instead of, again, the NCAA just kind of throwing their hands up and saying, go wild, wild west, because that's what it is. That's what it is right now.
Yeah.
There could be some guardrails which would allow the student athletes to get their right to publicity, which they deserve, we desire, we want them to have, but doing it in a way that's not a recruiting advantage, which now it's a complete recruiting advantage. And I could spend a lot of time on this topic, and I know we don't have it, but the Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics is doing some extraordinary work. I am truly blessed to serve on their consulting team, and I love it. Yeah.
In terms of furthering the conversation on several different subjects, which we could do right now, I'm going to say to all our followers and viewers and anybody that is involved in athletics, whatever sport, if you'd at least donated 50% of your time and application to dive into this, we'd be at least 50% better off, which we need to do. Get hold of Sandy Hatfield Clubb, the PICTOR Group. I'm throwing you out there for a chat, a conversation with your organization, athletic director, a coach. Get hold of the PICTOR Group, because we don't need to start a revolution. Maybe we're already in one and we don't know it.
We're in one.
The PICTOR Group can move everybody forward. Sandy, I'm going to say, thank you for your time. I can't let you go without a quick fire 5 questions. So, thank you again. Here we go. Right now, currently, what or who inspires you? What's your heartbeat? What's your inspiration to drive you forward right now?
I'm blessed by, my husband and I both are blessed by 2 amazing children. Our son is out in Brooklyn, New York, following his dream to work in the movie industry, and I just love seeing it happen. And our daughter's about to finish college. Fantastic. And no doubt, those are the 2 things that keep my husband and I bonded tightly and driving forward to make the world a better place.
A thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. Oh, priceless. If you could just put something, any sport, as a role model team, a group, a family, but a sports team that are unified, what team would you be? What message as a team would you be sending out there? Say, hey, look at these guys. This is who they are. This is their identity. This is a role model. What team?
Yeah. Boy, that's a tough one. The first thing that popped into my head was, what women's soccer is actually done in terms of standing up for equity. I can't think of a better role model right now. There's just no excuse for us not having a more equitable space, regardless of your gender, regardless of your race, regardless of your upbringing. We're humans, And when you're doing the same work, you deserve the same pay. I love it. So I can't, that's what popped into my head immediately, is just, I love the space that they've filled to be an example for the future, particularly for women's sport.
And I'm in that revolution as well. And it's unfinished business because there's more to come, right?
Yes.
Here we go. Nice, easy one. What's your favorite food?
Oh gosh, it depends on the day. I love Indian food. Absolutely love it. We've got the best Indian food restaurant here in town. It's in my phone as just favorite Indian food. It's called Nandini's, but I call it favorite Indian food. Yeah.
Chicken tikka masala, pilau rice, naan bread,
vegetable korma, yes. And I would say anything my husband is cooking. He's a fabulous cook. So
let's get some recipes in a book then.
Yeah.
There's another book.
Book.
There's another book.
Well, I've got lots of time for that.
It'll keep him busy.
Right.
But can you do it in the kitchen while you're cooking as well? Because
yeah, we'll see.
One place on the planet, or not, could be a constellation, could be out there in the universe. What's on your bucket list to go and see, go and visit? Culture, sites, whatever.
Yeah.
On your bucket list.
Oh, want to trek the Himalayas. That's definitely high on the bucket list. We've done some mountaineering, and we took our daughter was 9 years old when she summited Mount Kilimanjaro. Our son was 12 and our daughter was 9, and the four of us were at the top of Kili with actually the Drake football team. We took them with us. But yeah, we love trekking. I'd go back to Tanzania 100 times. There's a little town called Tema out in the rainforest on the foothills of Kilimanjaro, which I left a little piece of my heart there. I'd go back 100 times. But yeah, I want to see we could do this topic for a really long time because I've got a lot on my bucket list, but I'll just say, well, that's good. I'll just leave it at that.
It's there's some places on this planet that, when you get to it, just time stands still. You just reset almost. You go, whoa,
yeah, exactly.
That was brilliant. I want photos, by the way, when you get there, because you will. Just in between this one, we were talking about nurturing, the youngsters, if you don't mind. There's a program called Soccer Electric here in Denver, Colorado, which is brilliant. It's predominantly on soccer. I think they're evolving into other sports, and what they do is they'll do their morning of soccer, fun activities. Some are more challenging depending on the level of play, but then in the afternoon they'll bring people in. Some will go to a movie theatre and watch a documentary on the planet, bringing it back to what's out there. It's not just on soccer; it's purely educational as well, about health, well-being. What does Kilimanjaro look like? Where is it? So these are fantastic scenarios that involve in a camp, a clinic in sport, in athletics, and then they'll bring in people to chat about, i.e., what you did at the convention, which was sort of shock bullet points with the coach coming up saying, I have no idea. So that integrating the world, the universe maybe, with a bit of sport is not necessarily a bad idea. I'm going to shut up because on question 5, I'm getting kicked out of the studio by Anthony Spielberg Pritchard, who you met earlier. Ken, your fifth question, and thank you, Sandy. Enlightening, educational, wonderful. I look forward to the book. Can you leave the world one message that you want to share with the planet or the universe? I'm out of here. I'll see you on the other side. Thank you, Sandy.
All right, Richie, thank you. And I'll just say, your fingerprints, even exact twins, identical twins, don't have the same fingerprints. So you only get one chance to leave your fingerprints on this world. The more that you can look inside and see the gifts that you've been given to leave this world a better place, and then build the courage to put them out there, the more this world's going to be a better place. And certainly leveraging the power of sport to serve is fabulous. So I love what Richie just said about Soccer Electric. But that would be my final message is make sure you know who you are and have the courage to put it out there, because we all need you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin Denovan. I'm mom of Patrick over here. We are across from beautiful East High School. Just have it our last day at this amazing Soccer Electric Camplify camp, which was by far Patrick's favorite camp this summer. He just had a blast learning soccer skills and making new friends, and love the opportunity to do art and get out of the heat into the movie theater in the afternoon. Our whole family was jealous of this opportunity, and we plan on doing it every summer for sure. So thanks for this.
You don't have to be quiet. Panoramic, what's that got to spell it?
Everybody can be on the same page, the coach, the player and the parent, to help the player development. As Larry Ducker once said, the legendary management consultant, what gets measured gets improved.